The man walked up to the soldier, pointed the gun at his own head, and pulled the trigger. The crowd erupted into chaos instantly, shouting loudly, "They have no bullets!" After overpowering the few soldiers present, they lifted a huge steel pipe and jammed it shut before the isolation door could close, and just like that, they seized a carriage. 17 years earlier, an extreme cold storm swept across the earth, nearly wiping out humanity. The survivors boarded this train, which was powered by a perpetual motion engine. However, a class system quickly emerged on the enclosed train. The carriages farther forward were home to the wealthier, who enjoyed a life of indulgence and debauchery every day. The carriages farther back were inhabited by the poor, who could only eat protein blocks made from cockroaches each day. Any sign of resistance would be met with punishment, so the people in the lower class carriages plotted a riot. When they opened the next carriage, they found it filled with masked men armed with weapons. A fight broke out between the two sides soon after. The rebels, led by Curtis, gained the upper hand, but as the train passed through a long tunnel, the masked men put on night vision goggles. In the darkness, the rebels were completely defenseless. In their desperation, Curtis suddenly remembered a young boy had a match. The boy lit the match, and a torch relay began. Adults took the torches from the children's hands. Even though the flame was faint, it was enough to give them hope, and the tide of the battle turned instantly. However, the rebels also suffered heavy casualties, so Curtis took the leader hostage and continued moving forward. Everything ahead of them shattered their perceptions. There was a garden with flowers, grass, fruits, and vegetables, a raw meat refrigeration workshop, an aquarium with a wide variety of species, and there was even sushi available. The next carriage ahead was a kindergarten. Suddenly, a man pushed a cart of eggs over and gave them out as gifts to everyone. Even the lower class people received a share. But just as the eggs eased the rebels' tension, the men pulled out guns from the egg baskets and started firing indiscriminate gunfire at the rebels. After taking care of these men, Curtis continued forward, filled with hatred. Now, he only wanted to find the train conductor and make him pay with his blood for his tyrannical rule and the countless lives he had destroyed. Finally, he reached the front of the train, but at that moment, they realized that this door could only be opened from the inside. There were no mechanisms on the outside. It turned out that the doors of the upper class had never been opened to the lower class. Suddenly, the train door opened, and someone invited Curtis into the carriage. Then the conductor told Curtis, due to limited resources, he had orchestrated every riot on the train to control the population size. And this time, because Curtis had exceeded expectations, his intention was to have Curtis take over his position. Curtis grew more and more confused as he listened, until he found a young boy operating the machine beneath the floor. Looking at the poor little boy and the indifferent leader, Curtis finally came to his senses. He reached out to stop the running machine, pulled the boy out of it, and handed a match to a girl nearby and told her to blow up the train. The explosion triggered an avalanche, which knocked the train off the tracks and sent it plummeting down a cliff. In the end, only the boy and the girl survived, and they walked out of the train.